Hello, Jessica. Just like we have a similar interest, I enjoy photographing architecture and the local history, vernacular structure, especially in the ones that are not what you just kind of stick out and stand out from the usual. I also like the ones you have where you can see where something you can see where change is taking place, and I like when you can kind of hint at the history of the place, but also the contrast with what's modern in it, where there's maybe a modern sign or the type of store it is. Some of these, I was going to look at some of the differences I see in them. Something you might want to think about as you continue forward. A lot of them you shot straight on, and that's probably a pretty good idea just to kind of be consistent with the series. Do have one image or so where you shoot it more of an angle. So you'll notice most of these are straight on shots. This is the one that really stands out the most, is where you didn't shoot it straight on, you shot it more of an angle. But this makes the image stand out a little bit more. Most of these, all the compositions are horizontal, which I think works very well with this series. One thing I usually try to keep in mind with photographing stuff like this is to kind of hint at that modern world with the history of the place. I think this is like a neat shot. I like the reflections of the modern cars in here. Without this cars, looks like this picture could have been taken 50 years ago. But that kind of adds that kind of modern twist into it. So I'll often look for things when I'm out taking pictures, something where there's something modern. There's another example of it with something historic. It really kind of adds another dimension to the series. One thing I would think about it if you continue on with this is just the lighting. When you shoot architecture, the lighting is going to be the most difficult thing you're going to have to deal with. You can't turn the building on its side. You can't change the direction of light. You can't diffuse it. So you're going to have to really work on the time of day that you photograph these under, and even the direction of the sun, which way the building's pointing. So that's usually something that's going to be difficult to work with. But this one has some nice contrasty lighting, and the background looks like the sun's hitting it a little bit. I think that works really good with this picture. It really makes it stand out with the background being a little darker. And this is more of a temporary structure. It doesn't really fit in with some of your other ones, but it's kind of neat. You got the comparison. You got some older architecture on this side, something a little bit modern on this side, and you got this kind of break in this fence here, and that really just kind of makes that stand out, and has this nice kind of carnival fair feel to it. This one, you're shooting a little bit more on an angle. It makes me think of one of these like touristy type places. I don't know if there is more of a history of this place, and I'm not quite sure if you're trying to just show us historical pictures or if you're just wanting to show us some of the architecture. It's kind of hard to tell from the title. So if this is like a mixture of different types of architecture, this might be fine. The big thing is, the light, the way it's coming in from the side here, this is actually backlit, and this is a problem you'll have a lot of times photographing buildings, is you're going to have the sun behind you, and it's going to make it hard to get a good exposure without blowing out the background and keeping details and everything. So be really careful with that. This would have had a little bit better some side lighting on it, or it might be sunrise type lighting. It would make the picture, make the quality of light a lot better. This one's kind of flat. Again, it's like it's also backlit. It's going to be tricky because you got trees surrounding it. Again, if you could try to photograph them at the sunrise, I know you're not going to be able to do all that, but those are the kinds of things you're going to look for. Sometimes I'll look for like a really overcast day. That way I have soft light qualities everywhere. But this picture is also, it has a little bit of a contrast issue. It's a little flat. This one also has, overhead lighting that's coming from up this way, and we're putting a majority of the front of this building in the shade. And it looks like you blown out some highlights here. So, adjusting that exposure. This is going to be a little bit trickier to meter. Bracketing would have helped out a lot with this one. But it'd be nice to see a little bit more detail in the icebox and this part of the building. This one I think works really well. The lighting's a little bit better on it. This one's got that kind of flat lighting also where it's backlit. And this is kind of neat. I like the symmetry with this. I like the repetition of the arches and the lines. And I like these cars. This is really a cool shot. The sky isn't really important in this one. It might be something where you just cut it all together. You might have could have taken some detail shots of some buildings just to kind of change things up a little. Usually, if there's a building I really like, I'll just photograph the one area that really kind of jumps out at me and kind of concentrate more on that instead of photographing the entire building. But this is one where the symmetry in it is really works out really well for you. I like where it has a dark carving. If I had our light car here, just to make it, make it a little bit more interesting. But that's not always going to be possible. This one's the one image that really jumps out at me. It's backlit again. Just having that sun behind the buildings is going to give you some lighting problems and something just to think about as you continue on. This one's interesting. We have this kind of mixture of furniture out here and old signs, and we got this modern sign on here. Very symmetrical again. I like how you shot this one straight on with the road on it. And this one's shot very similar, so I think that works well together. Yeah, again, very symmetrical. We got, you can split this picture down the middle and it'd be pretty much the same on both sides. And I really like this one. This is one of the few times where the power lines actually, it kind of adds something to the image. And it reminds me of a lot of photographers like Stephen Shore, who photograph a lot of architecture, not your typical architecture pictures, but, just showing a society and buildings in these small towns. I like the church back here. That really adds another layer to it. We have one church here. We got another one back here. I can't quite read what that says. If I zoomed in on it, I might be able to read that a little bit more. Okay, so it looks like it might be part of a church also. Yeah, like an Angel J building or something. So I really like how I think the use of black and white worked really good with these. I think that kind of helped you with color being an issue. And overall, this one has a good black and white conversion. But like I said, the trick with the architecture is really going to be the lighting. It's going to be difficult to deal with. This is the instance where it looks really good in this picture. I think this is a good example. We don't have a lot of harsh shadows. We have some soft gradient from light to darks here. So it looks like it's more of an overcast day maybe. But trying to work with the light is going to be the trickiest thing for architecture. It can be really difficult. But overall, I think you did a really good job with these. I learned something about this town I didn't know. Some things that reminds me, where I live, which is a different part of the country. And then, it kind of reminds me of anywhere USA in a way with some of this. But then, again, you're not showing us all the fast food places and things like that. You're giving us a little bit of a taste of this area. And I think you did a really good job with that.